Hi, you're on the Bible Forum. On March 1st, 2021, just a week ago, Turkish President Erdogan changed the name of the Directorate of Religious Affairs to the Directorate of Jerusalem and Umrah Affairs. Why did he do that? Well, people familiar with Erdogan say it's because he views himself as successor to the line of Ottoman sultans. He wants to restore the empire, the old, and sees himself as responsible for Jerusalem from the Islamic perspective. We're talking about Salah al-Din and Suleiman the Magnificent. It's a dream that views Jerusalem as the Muslim capital and the area called the Dome of the Rock as holy ground. Muslims view Jerusalem as being, quote, under occupation by Israel. And this area is their third highest holy place after Mecca and Medina. In their view, Jerusalem is under occupation and must be freed. The Turkish president called for conquering the city through a mass infusion of Muslim tourists to Israel. He said, quote, we must visit Al-Aqsa much more, noting how disappointed he was that during the previous year only 26,000 Turkish tourists had visited Jerusalem. They are viewed as soldiers in the fight. Of course, that was the highest number of any Muslim country, but far lower than the hundreds of thousands of Americans, Russians, French who visit the city and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Erdogan believes that Israeli sovereignty in Jerusalem is an historic accident, that Jerusalem is under occupation, and as the 21st century's Salah al-Din, a liberator of Jerusalem, he sees it's his responsibility. On the other side of the world is China. Data published by Eurostat on February 15 shows that China overtook the United States in 2020 to become the European Union's #1 trading partner in goods. Despite the coronavirus pandemic, exports of the European goods to China grew over the previous year by 2.2% to reach $244 billion. Imports of Chinese goods increased 5.6% to $463 billion. Meanwhile, transatlantic trade went steeply in the opposite direction, with exports of EU goods to America falling by 8.2% and imports plummeting by 13.2%. So for the first time, China is #1 in terms of European trade. The booming economy in the world is what it's being called. For you history students, you know that Hitler and the Nazis taught that Christian worship was to be private and separate from the state. He banned school prayers, publicly promised to respect the rights of churches, spoke of freedom and tolerance. And you also know that the German people bought into it. The German churches hoped that if they left Hitler alone, he would leave them alone. He didn't, and the churches began to rebel. Hitler responded to the opposition of the church in the same way all hostile governments respond to those who disagree with them. He created a flurry of new laws and then accused pastors and church leaders of breaking those laws. In one way or another, God had to be separated from government policies and ejected from the public square. The role of the church was minimized by privatizing faith and instituting laws about what could or could not be said from a pulpit. With God, the religion removed from government, with God and religion removed from government, the values of Hitler's socialism rapidly filled that vacuum. The church would increasingly become the enemy of the state. Now keep in mind, all of that happened under code words. Words like freedom, peace, fairness. Erwin Lutzer, When a Nation Forgets God, Moody Publishers. Scripture reveals that we are to defend the rights of the afflicted and the needy, Proverbs 31:9. To reprove the ruthless and defend the orphan, Isaiah 1:17. To do justice to the afflicted and destitute, and deliver them out of the hand of the wicked, Psalm 82:3 and 4. We are to have no other gods but the true and living God before us, Exodus 20, verse 3. We are to resist the sin of abortion, Exodus 20, verse 13, Psalm 82:3 and 4. We are to resist the rise and promotion of homosexuality, Leviticus 20, verse 13, 2 Peter chapter 2, verses 6 through 9. We are to resist the redefinition of marriage to accommodate sin, Mark chapter 10, verse 6. Resistance is biblical when it means to defy the decrees, the laws, and the commands of ungodly leaders in our world. Exodus 1, 15 through 21, 1 Samuel 14, 24, Jeremiah 26, 10 through 16, Matthew 2, 7 through 12, 2 Corinthians 11, 32 and 33. Our world is in deep trouble, and whatever is going on is spreading like wildfire. It's getting close.